Hi, we're on lesson 3.4 and we're going to be talking about slope. There's a lot to know about slope, so this lesson is a pretty long lesson. So when we're looking at this, find the slope of a line given 2 points on the line. So every line has a slope, and we can determine that slope by selecting ordered pairs on the line and then using this formula, or the formula is not here yet. We use a formula to find that, so we're just really finding the horizontal change. Notice this horizontal change is from 1 to 4, so that's a distance of 3. And then we have a vertical change that's 6 to 2. That's a distance of 4. And we always write this with the vertical change over the horizontal, or what I like to call the rise over the run. That's always kind of hard. Oh, I forgot to change this to a darker color. So this could be rise over run. So the rise is vertical and the run is horizontal. And so you can kind of study this and look at it. It doesn't really matter what points you select on the line. Notice this helpful hint. I could pick this point 1, 2, or I could pick this point 4, 6, 7, 10, and use any two of those to find the slope on the line. They're always going to have the same slope if the points are on the line. And now we have the formula. So the formula has to do with finding the difference between your y coordinates and the difference between your x coordinates. And when you do that, then you can find slope. Sometimes it helps if you write them one over the other. And remember that we're going to use the formula where we put the y's in the numerator and the x's in the denominator. Now it doesn't really matter which order you do this in. I could have put the 2, 6 under 3, 1, and that would work out the same. So in the numerator, I'm going to take 6 and subtract 1. In the denominator, I'll have 2 minus 3. The main thing is that you start with the same ordered pair in the numerator and the denominator. So now I have 5 over negative 1, which is a slope of negative 5. Always simplify when you have a 1 or negative 1 in your denominator. Okay, so we'll do the same thing here. I'm going to write, just so you know that it doesn't really matter if it's the y sub 1 or the y sub 2. Those are just subscripts to identify that we have two different ordered pairs we're working with here. Okay, so if I wrote this as x sub 1, y sub 1, that would be fine. X sub 2, y sub 2, or I could do this opposite that. It would work out the same way. So I think on this one I'll just go ahead and leave them side by side. So I'm going to start with the y sub 2. That's going to be 2 minus negative 3. So I'm going to make that plus 3. Let me write this out. 2 minus a negative 3 is going to become 2 plus 3, and I'll just do that on the next step. And then we're also going to take the x coordinate, which is a 2, and subtract 4. Notice we're subtracting a positive 4, so we only have one minus sign. So now I have 2 plus 3 in the numerator and 2 minus 4 in the denominator, which is 5 over negative 2, or we can just write this as negative 5 halves, or negative 5 over 2. So you can put the negative right by your division bar or with your numerator. One thing we normally don't do is leave the negative in the denominator, especially if you're putting that on MyMathLab. Okay, so on this one, I'm going to take the second ordered pair and write it below the first ordered pair. And then we're going to use our formula, right? So I'll do 13 minus 13 and 0 minus negative 4. So that's 0 over 0 plus 4. Now at this point, hopefully you realize that 0 divided by 4 is 0. So my slope is 0 in this case. Always make sure you simplify that and don't just leave the 0 in the numerator. On this line, we can actually count this, or we can use the ordered pairs. So let's just look what happens if we count. So if I start at this ordered pair, which is at 1, negative 2, and I count to 3, 3, I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have a rise. If you don't understand this, you can always use the formula. I have a rise of 1, 2, 3, 4. That's my rise, right? And then my run is going to be 2. Now on this, sometimes you might get confused about sign. I counted up and I counted right. So that's going to be a positive slope. And in this case, m equals 2. Now let's verify that with the formula. I'm going to have the point 3, 3 and 1, negative 2. So I'm going to do 3 minus negative 2, and that's 3 plus 2. Right, 3 minus negative 2 is plus, and I also have 3 minus 1. So my slope is 5 over 2. Did I count wrong? Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, sorry. That was a 5. I didn't count this point here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See, I messed that up, but I found out whenever I used the formula. That's because I didn't count one of the points that I put on the graph. So you can see that it's verified by the formula. And if we hadn't used the formula, then I would have had that on there wrong. So I'm going to stop this and we will pick this up again on the next lesson.